Good evening. Welcome to the Ghost N.E.A.R show, where we explore and discuss various aspects of paranormal phenomena. I am your host, Keith Johnson, the co-founder of New England Anomalies Research, along with my wife, Sandra Johnson, who is at home this evening tending to our son. So hello, Sandra and Keith Jr. I have some very distinguished repeat guests. I'm sure they're familiar to you. Panorama Paranormal.
Could you repeat that, please?
I have some very distinguished guests. Panorama Paranormal.
Well, we're repeat guests.
Hello, Keith. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Founder, Elise Giamarco Carlson, and Carl Johnson, who many of you know from previous episodes and from various TV appearances and the like, and lectures as well. Well, it's good to have you both on again because you have some fascinating topics to discuss and speak about. What's been up with Panorama Paranormal?
I don't know how much we can say. What shouldn't I say?
You can say anything you like.
Gonna let away some secrets there?
Oh, we don't have too many of those these days. But yeah, just that our group is founded on a principle of kind of going against the grain. I think our statement is, what do we really know? Our question is, what do we really know about this whole scheme of study we call paranormal? Mm-hmm. You know, are ghosts remnant human souls, human psyche? Are they people who were once alive and they have unfinished business? Or is it something altogether different? We think we've got it all figured out, and we really don't.
Well, some people would say we do have it figured out.
Well, some people would say that. I don't know. Are you one of them?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I have certain beliefs and faith aspects, but I don't think we know all the logistics about paranormal phenomena. There's a whole unseen realm out there, and
Yeah.
really mysterious.
There's two parts to it. We need to see if these things really indeed are happening, or if we're just mistaken or being lied to about activity. Mm-hmm. And then once we establish, well, it probably is real activity, what or who is causing it and why.
Yes.
So
yes.
There's layers to every investigation.
Very well said. Very true. Very true. So have you been on any interesting explorations lately where you have uncovered evidence or possible evidence?
We've had a few cases going on that it's usually an open-ended kind of question thing. Mm-hmm. We don't get as many answers as questions come up.
Yes.
But we find that when people do contact us, they want to have some activity in their house quelled. Like, this is disturbing my daughter and me. You know, is there any, or, you know, my husband is being woken at night. Is there anything you can do? Can you put the spirit at peace somehow?
Right. Some people just want it verified. They want
to
know what is happening.
We think we have a demon in our house. You know, we think it's evil. You know? Mm-hmm. Well, let's first of all find out if there is something, really.
Yes.
You know, if it has a personality.
Interesting, because it doesn't always start out as negative activity. You know, sometimes it's somebody made my bed for me. I came in and somebody's been moving my teacups around.
I think a lot of it's seen as negative because it's startling, because it's spooky, because it's mysterious. You don't know when it's going to manifest. Therefore, since it's mysterious, it's potentially dangerous, and so it could be evil. Mm-hmm. And then I think we have a demon. And
well, that case you were discussing before about that gentleman, former police officer, who had, he thought, a demon in his house or some evil spirit, and it was kind of ambiguous at first. We weren't sure what was there, what was telling him negative things, like to kill himself and things like that, until you finally did obtain some evidence of that, actual evidence.
Yes, Elise was the first to discover that. I thought it was something. You know, Joe Mignano, because his name, you know, it's been televised. It was actually the subject of an episode of A Haunting.
Yep, I've
telling
met
the
Joe.
True story. And you know, and Danica, his wife, Joe was being plagued by a voice speaking to him, taunting him, telling him, "You're worthless. You know, why don't you give it up, kill yourself?" And you know, just very negative. And
it would sound like clinical depression.
It seemed to relate to some things in Joe's past. He felt he was a police officer. His father was a police officer before him, and he felt he had somewhat disappointed his father because he didn't go as far with his career. Well, he was injured in the line of duty, and he couldn't continue. So I thought this is a psychological, almost textbook case. He's hearing the voices. He feels guilty. You know, he hasn't achieved what he should have. So some component of his own mind is taunting him, telling him you're worthless. It's an unresolved conflict. Until, well, Elise recorded our initial interview with Joe and Danica, and then something strange surfaced when she was playing it back. She heard the voice. She heard that voice that Joe was hearing in his mind, but objectively it was there. It was imprinted on the recording.
He had played recordings for us before. And it's not that I didn't believe him.
Right.
It's just a hard thing to believe when someone else
bases,
records something. You want to see for yourself. And then when I had it in front of me on my own recording, then you can move forward. Like I said, first you got to determine that something is happening. Then you can start working on who, what, why, where is this happening.
And was this in the form of an EVP?
Yes, it was
Electronic
the voice
voice
that
phenomena.
he had actually he told us about, and I was just recording an interview. I didn't even try, I wasn't looking for anything. I wanted to record the interview to take notes on my own, and heard somebody whispering. We were sitting probably as far apart as we are right here, and I had just put the recorder on the table, and I heard a whisper close into the recorder, so it couldn't have been anyone in the room.
Right.
We never left that room.
And what did the voice say?
Well, I can't use the actual words, but it's pretty much F you and go kill yourself. And
Wow.
later on,
Hostile.
further down the conversation, you could hear a breath before they said something else. There was another sound too, I can't remember what right now, but the breath, it sounded like someone taking a big inhale and then speaking out.
That's strange because I've captured EVP in which there seems to be expiration, even though these are disembodied spirits, so they're living in another dimension.
They sigh.
Right, I
sometimes.
mean.
Yes, they sigh.
Yeah, can't be quite human, not breathing, not.
And this one really had personality, just like Joe had described. And it wasn't his voice, so at least not that we could discern.
Yeah.
You're worthless. Give it up, why don't you, son of a...
Yeah, that's terrible. That something was.
He said it sounded childlike, like a child menacing him, an adult voice, but it's taunting him.
And how did you feel, Elise, when you heard that?
Oh, well, I was quite surprised, let me tell you. And when we played it for Joe, he was just happy that somebody understood that he wasn't crazy, that he wasn't just hearing these things in his head and on his phone, his recorder. He had even tried different apparatus, different recordings, his phone, tape recorders, and different things. So he was happy that someone else had it and someone to talk to about it. And I haven't talked to him in, like 6 months now, but I mean, it had continued after that. But he felt better about knowing that it wasn't him, or, thinking that it wasn't him being crazy, and that he could now handle this better because he had an understanding of it. Mm-hmm. What it is, we still don't know. It still really could be my theory is it's coming from him.
Okay.
I don't think it's dead relatives following him around telling him these things. I think this is all coming from him, bit of guilt. I'm not a psychiatrist, though. And he has had counseling. He, in fact, became a counselor after he retired from the police department. Mm-hmm. He became a counselor for other people, so he's helping himself while he helps others, I guess.
That is very interesting.
And that's all you can hope for in any case, is to either help your client feel better or add something to the science, make some kind of discovery. And those are few and far between. So at least if you can make the person who called feel better, you've done your job.
People who are referred to sometimes as haunted survivors, people who are going through this or have been through this, one of the worst aspects is the isolation. People feel nobody's going to believe them, they're going to think they're crazy.
That's why we were useful to, very helpful, I think, and they certainly were grateful to us, to Joe and Danica, because nobody was giving them any credit. Joe didn't even want to tell people about it because he knew he wouldn't be believed. Now, when Elise says that it wasn't necessarily a dead relative or some, deceased, some disembodied spirit talking to her, it could have been his own mind, but that makes it just as real, nonetheless, because if it's a manifestation of his own inner demons, his psyche, then that's groundbreaking. That's wonderful. That a component of his mind actually is detached and can speak on its own. Because it wasn't Joe throwing his voice or anything like that. He was so surprised when he heard that. that's the voice.
He had verification then.
Yeah.
Yes, it made them feel better. And that's what we try to do. We don't come in with a van full of people and equipment and matching T-shirts and stickers on the side of the bus.
Right.
And like, we're going to find your ghost.
Right.
No, we'll just
Black
go in and
matching
talk to
T-shirts,
people
yeah.
quietly. We look like they had company come over for coffee,
Yeah.
and we talk about it. And you meet a lot more genuine people that way who aren't just
Right.
looking to get on TV with the crew and
Exactly.
T-shirts.
Exactly. Now, Elise, you kind of have, correct me if I'm wrong, you have kind of an affinity for dolls that may be haunted or look like they're haunted.
Do you
I would
really have an
love
affinity
to
for
find
dolls?
one every time. I love to go antiquing, so every time I see a doll that has eyes that move, I look at it and say, if you blink, you can come home with me, and I haven't found one yet.
Oh, well.
Just one
I
little-
think it's good that you haven't found one yet, if you say you can
I'm
come home
looking
with
for
me.
one.
Haven't found your Annabelle,
Yeah,
huh?
haven't found my
People
Annabelle.
report that. I've heard that a lot, that my doll moved.
I found one that I could have made a show out of. This doll, when you held her up and moved her leg, the rest of her body would move. And
Oh,
you
really?
couldn't tell. It looked like you were holding a doll that was moving on her own.
Yeah.
I said, nah, I can't do that.
Yeah, right.
Some people might,
Some people would.
especially film it in night vision, basically monochrome, black and
yeah.
white. Look, it moved.
Yeah, my friend Gwynnie has been in the paranormal for many years.
Yes.
Actually sent me a allegedly haunted doll, and as a precaution, I did put gloves on when I handled it, but and did pray over it and blessed it. And I wound up giving it to someone else for a collection, haunted collection. Yeah, but
Did they put it in a glass case? Because I've always wondered how that is supposed to keep people safe from haunted objects.
I don't think they did, but Robert the doll is in a glass case,
Yeah.
right? The famous Robert
Yeah,
the doll.
I've always wondered how that works.
Yeah, he spooks me a little bit out of all these dolls. I mean, the whole mystique is created when you put it in a case and put a sign, beware, do not
Yeah.
touch, do not open this case. And it's just a doll, a Raggedy Ann doll, for instance.
Yeah, well, the real Annabelle is a large Raggedy Ann
She's a
doll.
large Raggedy Ann. Never see a haunted Raggedy Andy, but always the haunted, Raggedy Ann.
It's the one in the movie. The movies looks like the Bride of Chucky.
Oh,
Robert,
yeah, they made that thing look pretty gruesome.
yeah.
Robert the doll can be.
Robert in his sailor uniform and his like egg-shaped face and head. Yeah, he spooks me.
Yes. Now there's, of course, theories of quantum mechanics behind a lot of paranormal phenomena, and I know that Carl used to give a seminar on that with our friend Andrew Graham, former team member of the Atlantic Paranormal Society and New England Anomalies Research. He's was with us for quite some time. And you used to put on some good lectures with him. You did at Penn State University. Ryan Buell used
Twice
to
we did, yep.
organize. Yes.
We were there several times, but twice Andrew and I lectured there.
Yes,
as
yes.
part of the program.
Yeah, a good friend Ryan Buell used to put on the convention. That's
Yeah.
how a lot of us met before his TV show.
It was a
Paranormal
hobnobber that
State.
would bring
Yeah.
people together. It was valuable.
Yes.
UNIVCon.
Yes, and you and Andrew used to paranormal in the quantum mechanics, how that's related. And I thought it was a good rapport that you had. I mean, it wasn't over people's heads. It was just like basic common experiences.
Yeah, you got to make.
Can this be attributed?
You can make quantum theorems and demonology, ghost hunting.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you can make that fun.
cover a lot.
You've accomplished something. If you
Right.
can get some laughs out of it.
I actually do have a clip from that, like 2007.
It exists.
Yes, it exists. Well, I have a few clips of that, quite a few. You and Andrew Graham, our friend, giving a lecture. It's just an excerpt from that, giving a lecture on quantum mechanics and how it relates to the paranormal, or could relate to
Right.
the paranormal.
Well, yeah, I think it does.
Yeah,
very much
I
so.
think it's very, very interesting. But
I think that explains some things that
Yeah.
are normally considered impossible or implausible.
well, I did bring it with me, so let's bring that up now and watch a few minutes of Carl and Andrew speaking quantum mechanics and the
I
paranormal.
gotta see this.
North American continent. Technologically superior, or Tokyo, which is probably where you have
This
us.
is going to be a really weird suggestion, but what if it's actually in a different dimension?
Whatever the dimension the future's in, or the past is in, maybe the present. Yeah, absolutely.
maybe something that's close to ours that coincides.
Somebody's kind of getting the gist of this. This is good.
One good Neanderthal is throughout the entire world. We're back in dark.
All it takes is to level off the birth level, to equalize the birth level. Then there's a decline. Right now, of course, the birth rate exceeds the death rate. That's why we have 6 billion plus people, more people than have ever existed on this planet. What you have to do is, and we're so technical that we're fragile. All we need is some massive volcano or series of volcanic eruptions to, stop our crop production and make the atmosphere dark and cold for a few years. It will be hard to recover from that. I'd like to think we could, but suddenly we'll have a dark age. Everything we've got now could be forgotten, and then future archaeology will find it. Yeah.
Has anyone done any research around the super volcano? I always forget if this is Yellowstone or is it Yellowstone? Around there to see if there's energy from stuff that existed before.
It's I didn't see the special on the History Channel, or Nova or something. I wanted to see on that, but they're very good for elucidation on those History Channel shows and Discovery. You get the rudiments of of what they're trying to talk about, and yeah, it's not an active volcano, but it's subterranean. There's the potential for it to become active. Should it ever actually blow underneath the surface, that will devastate the United States before we can do anything about it. And unless we have sufficient warning.
A few weeks ago, I watched a special on the History Channel about Philadelphia.
Oh boy.
Oh, that, yeah. That crops up every once in a while.
The Philadelphia experiment, that was actually, quite honestly, that was an exercise in quantum physics right there. It failed miserably, but a lot of people were hurt, if I remember correctly, were killed. But that's an absolute exercise in quantum physics right
And
there.
perhaps we haven't reached a point in our evolution. And I don't think as a species we're going to evolve more because we're pretty good at survival, so we don't need to evolve. Exterior conditions influence evolution. But I don't think we're at a point where we can quite thoroughly understand the real particulars of quantum physics or even more string theory. We're pretty, intelligent. We're pretty neat that we can grasp it at all, or even speculate about it. But perhaps if, you got some geniuses that, they passed on their genius.
Very good, Carl. Very good. You and Andrew. Right?
I was on the edge of my seat watching that. Yeah.
Well,
I was hoping
I know
you'd show there was one where, and it was at Penn State, where I actually had a string, like a ball of twine, and I was running up and down the aisle with it, in between the chairs, and I was going all around with the string and
Sure, the
winding
audience
it
loved
around
that.
people.
From theory practice.
And I stood up on the table and all that, but there's no
really get into it.
action.
What I liked about those lectures you and Andrew gave, that used to have a lot of audience participation too. You'd start talking about these things, and people in the audience, oh, I've experienced that. Let me tell you my experience. And it used to be, you'd really get into it. But very well
You
attended.
gotta hold on the reins when you do that.
You kept people's attention, that's for sure.
You have
I
to
managed to
schedule
do
that
that,
into your
yes.
show, actually, because you're always going to get stories after somebody's shared.
Yes, indeed, always.
Yeah, my only
always.
regret about this is the time I made one audience member. We were doing audience participation, and the subject disappeared and never came back.
Oh, you touched upon a nerve or something? Or,
No, they just vanished.
physically?
oh, you looked around and they're gone.
I never got blamed for it. I just, just never came back. And
Oh,
they were
okay.
gone. Some other dimension.
Maybe in one of those classrooms, suddenly they appear, and no time has passed for them.
You're not going to have a success every time.
Right, okay. Now, something I wanted to talk about. You two were involved with the Conjuring House for a while, and did a lot of historic research into what actually went on there, the true history, and as opposed to what you see in the movies, of course. And what do you find very interesting that actually happened there? I mean, of course, there's all the things like Bathsheba was the satanic witch and everything, which is totally false. She was a member of the local Baptist church.
Right, right.
She was given a wonderful eulogy and Christian burial.
Yes,
And,
they are family.
Yes.
I think we find
She's
interesting
in the
more
Riverside.
what didn't happen there.
Yes.
All the the legend. You see that this whole fictitious string of quasi-history. It made sense. why is this place so haunted? Why is it one of the most haunted places in the world? And well, look at its dark history. We find out, no, it really is not and was not.
Well, I think that whole area has a reputation for paranormal. I mean, not that it's constant, but
it's got a dark
other houses are affected too.
It seems to, yeah. I did talk to a neighbor who said that she had activity, but then she didn't want to talk about it anymore, so I wasn't able to actually interview her or anybody in her family. But it bothers me when they start with, this was sacred Native American burial ground.
Isn't that?
Oh, yeah.
Most places were in
Yeah.
New England.
Right.
Actually,
Here in New
across
England,
the
yeah.
country. It just happened to be, certain tribes around here in Rhode Island, Nipmuc and Narragansett, but
Right.
they were here first. That's the way they lived. They lived on the land. They buried their dead and close by, usually up on a hill. And you can figure it out from certain histories what would actually be a burial ground.
The original owner of what is now called the Conjuring House, before additions were put on, the original owner, Dexter Richardson, he married a member of the Nipmuc tribe, a squaw from there, and her name was Mary because she had to take on a Christian name to have a Christian wedding. We don't know what her original real name was, but I find that history fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting just in a historic sense. It was a stage for King Philip's War.
Yes,
1671 to 1675, the skirmishes.
But Carl, some people wanted some real contact there, and I heard you were instrumental in that. You were kind of brought in to kind of conduct some spirit communication there.
When was, you're talking about the 2 years ago, kind of, yeah.
You were asked to lead some seances there, and
Well,
one in particular.
Seances.
Oh, don't be so modest. It did happen. Right. I don't know if you were involved in that, Elise.
Well, a couple of years ago. Yeah, I was just going to say there are not many people who could claim that they were in a seance on Halloween at the Conjuring House.
Yep.
Lived to tell the tale.
I was drafted.
I never was.
Well, people want. No, I did the 2 seances and 2 nights there. Conducted them,
But the most dramatic of them, I'd like you to kind of quote or paraphrase what you said to the people around the table, Carl.
Because actually there were 3 seances altogether.
Right. But when you laid down the ground,
It's hard to say no to that.
you laid down the ground.
Last one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
How did you start that out? Because it wasn't the usually let's calm ourselves, and it wasn't that.
Well, there was no reason in doing it if it didn't have some kind of impact. I didn't want to approach it as just like, let's see, would anyone like to speak to us?
That's what I mean. It was you weren't there for this one.
I figure why bother if we're not going to? It's what's known as the Conjuring House.
Hoping you'd be an eyewitness to it.
I mean, it doesn't, compare to what Ed and Lorraine Warren did there, talking about seances and all that. Yeah, but, well, I started off by saying, the team from Outcast Paranormal was there, filming, documenting, and in fact, one of the gentlemen there was who was a cameraman and was organizing the documentary. He was a producer, one of the associate producers of the Conjuring movie. And The Conjuring. So when we began, I said, gentlemen, what we're supposed to do, what I'm supposed to say is we're not going to allow anything negative, just be open-minded, but don't let anything take over, address the spirits politely, welcome them, but then we must close if anything untoward happens. And I continued to say, tonight all of that goes out the window. We are here for results.
Yeah.
Results we're going to get, and we are going to push boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And you don't usually hear somebody open a seance, a spirit communication in that manner.
Well, all the attendees of the seance, all the participants are like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. And you did get some rather dramatic results.
Yeah, it was just like I said we are throwing. We said we were going to be cautious tonight. That all goes out the window.
Yeah,
we're not going to be cautious. We're here for results. We're not going to be totally haphazard, but we want something to. If it can happen, it's going to tonight. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, that shows something.
Yeah.
If we cannot produce results. Mm-hmm. And we may not know what the results, where they're from. Did they arise from us? It's the house, the land, but we're going to try it. Mm. And we did. And started off with playing some Gregorian chant music. Well, based on, influenced by that. Stacy Brown was there, and I cued him. He had that set up to play. Once I gave that opening, he played actually "Hymn to Lucifer" by Peter Gundry, just because it's very Gothic sounding.
Yeah.
And it set the mood. And we all we had a little toast in a little tiny tumbler of brandy. Who wanted to? Just one sip, and like a drawing room setting.
Wasn't Bach or anything like that, or anything melodic, or.
Well, it sounded classical, but it was kind of menacing to organ music, and so I just started saying, whatever presence is here, this is your time. This is your opportunity. You may not get another like this, so you just speak to it if you have something to say, and dang, we got results. One thing we got was, it sounded like pitter patter, but not of little feet. It was this kind of, and it went across the room, went up the wall. It was quite audible.
Oh, it went up the wall too.
Yeah, and the tapping, and the room got. I mean, our eyes were adjusting to the darkness, but then suddenly it became very, very dark. Like you would have thought somebody turned a rheostat down. It's like what? Even I was surprised by that. And one of the participants, sitting there looking quite calmly, suddenly started to bang his head against the tabletop.
Oh, wow.
But I mean from a sitting position. Thump,
Oh,
thump,
my goodness.
thump. And like, why are you doing that? And he's, what?
He wasn't cognizant of what he was doing?
He didn't seem to be, he seemed to have no awareness that he was doing that. I mean, that's quite an act if he was doing that, because he is smashing his head against the table. Bang! Bang! And then Stacy Brown sickened. He suddenly became very, he had to run outside. That was audible.
And then they hear banging outside the room or something?
Yeah, there was upstairs, there shouldn't have been any noise, and you heard like there was some thumping. It seemed like we brought about poltergeist activity.
Yeah, right.
It sounded like that. What we achieved, I don't know, besides to confirm that if we really wanted results, we would get them.
Right.
I wouldn't have been surprised if nothing had happened. But we put so much into this. I never lost track of it. I was, just always felt like I was in control.
Yes, right,
But
right.
wanted to see if anything interesting could happen. So, we absolutely.
A night to remember.
If we don't produce results tonight, we can't.
Yeah.
Because we're really letting out all stops. And so one of the
Not that I'm recommending
one of the guys
people
said,
do this, but
he said, I can't be, excuse me, I can't be here, and I can't do this, because it was suffering, suffocating him. He felt that feeling.
Yeah.
One of the people there, I don't know if, he had repercussions from it for
Really?
months afterwards. He contacted me 2 days later, said, Carl, I've got something, I brought something back with me, It's,
wow.
I just wanted to get at the core of what, if there's something in this house that can be contacted, be it negative, be it supernatural, whatever, I wanted to see it.
Right.
I wanted to find out about it. Can it be summoned?
Right.
Yeah, so become more established on the lecture.
I know we have
primarily.
attended your lectures.
And we have a few set up.
David and
Yes.
Valerie, and a lot of us have attended, and very, very fascinating. So we'll look forward to more.
Maybe we'll do one on string theory.
That'd be good. Call Andrew Graham down here too.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We'd put
Guys
on.
had a great rapport. But anyway, I thank you for being here, and we'll certainly have you on again.
It's been fun as
It's
usual.
always fascinating, fascinating topics discussed here.
Oh yeah, an hour wouldn't be enough time.
Right, that's true.